Hello and welcome to your programme Q&A session that will cover the MSc in Health Services Management. We're joined by our panel today, which is great, so hopefully they can answer any questions that you have about the programme. Please don't panic if you don't get a chance to ask all your questions. The contact email address is on the web page, so if you think of anything after or you want a bit more information, please do get in touch and we'll get back to you. This webinar is more about the sort of programme structure and questions to do with the actual programme rather than sort of scholarships and funding and things like that. I will pop some useful information into the chat, some links for you. But again, if you've got any questions after it, do get in touch and we can point you in the right direction if it's not programme specific. So we only have a short time yet today. So Sue, would you like to kick off and introduce yourself and then we'll go to Barry?
Hello everyone. So my name is Sue Campbell. I'm the programme lead for the MSc in Health Services Management. I've worked on health service management both in the NHS, or National Health Service in the UK, and also I worked in different countries in Africa for about 20 years, working for international NGOs. So I have a range of experience and interests in health service management.
Barry? Oh, Barry, I put you on mute. Sorry, because we could hear some background noise. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, I'm Barry Morn. I'm the Programme Administrator for the Health Services Management Programme. I've been here at Glasgow for just short of 2 years now, but I'm very experienced, having worked in education now for the last 20 years. So if there's any questions, as Naomi has said, that isn't answered by this webinar, do not please hesitate to contact us and we will endeavour to answer all of your queries.
Perfect, thank you. And Sue, would you like to give us a bit of an overview on the programme?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just pop some slides up actually. Bear with me. Okay, just a little bit about the health tips.
So oh, there we go. That's us. We're now on. Took a wee while.
Right. So I'm sure you'll be familiar with Glasgow University, just a bit of background. So obviously it's a long established Russell Group University, established in 1451. So I mean, it's a pleasure to work in such an institution. We have a huge student body, which is lovely. More than 140 countries represented. We're in the top 20 for graduate employability. And we have a range of student clubs and societies, which I think is a very important part of studying at the university, because it's good to have a balance of your academic studies and also develop some other interests. We also offer study abroad opportunities, particularly for our undergraduate students. So the health service management programme that you expressed an interest in is delivered in conjunction with the Adam Smith Business School. So our programmes are divided up into different modules. Some of these you choose. Some of these are what we regard as core, but we do have 30 credits. I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute. But we do have 30 credits which are delivered by the Adam Smith Business School. So you have their business and management expertise woven into the programme. What we're doing is we're looking at the management and leadership skills required for contemporary health service organisations. So we know that there's a number of challenges in how we deliver health services. We know that we've got, for example, an ageing population. We've got, economic constraints. So we have to think about what are the key management and leadership skills that are required. And throughout the programme, what we're doing is encouraging your critical approach to learning. So when you go out into the field, when you work in management and leadership, that's a changing environment. So we want you to be able to change with it. So it's not that at the end of a programme you will have a toolkit and this is exactly how you're going to do health service management. We want you to be much more critical and think about, for a particular context, how would be the best sort of management and leadership approach to take. So in keeping with the structure of a number of our master's programmes, they're based on, to achieve a master's is based on achieving 180 credits. Specifically in the health service management programme, that's made up of 60 credits, which are core. And if you were a full-time student, you would do all of them in semester one, so that sort of September to December module. There are 60 credits which are optional, and that's made of 3 different courses or modules, 20 credits each. So I'll show you in later slides what some of those options are, and that's what you would choose. You would choose 3 of them to make your 60 credits. If you're successful in achieving that 120 credits of what we call the top programme, then you're eligible to move on to 60 credits for the dissertation. And just in terms of the sort of teaching and how often are you on campus, so this is an on-campus programme. It does vary a little bit throughout the year. It tends to be that you're possibly on campus a little bit more in semester one, because actually you're doing 5 modules at that time. In semester 2, your actual taught content might be 2 hours a week for each module, so sort of 6 hours a week for the actual teaching component of it. But then there's extra discussion with students and group work and things like that will go on as well. So there is a little bit of variation there, depending on which semester you're in. Just put on this slide a kind of range of modules that you can undertake. So those, as I say, in the first column, the semester 1 modules, you'll see that, the little red asterisks beside them, they're all what we call the core modules. Those that have an MGT code, like MGT 5300, they're run by the Adam Smith Business School. And the introduction is run by myself as part of the School of Medicine, and the research approaches is part of the School of Medicine, Dentistry and Nursing. So these are compulsory. You must take these as part of the master's programme. In the second column there, the middle column, you'll see that these are some of our optional modules. So as I said earlier, they're 20 credits each, and you would choose 3 of them. I've got a green asterisk beside one of them there, managing healthcare organisations. For students that undertake that module, and it is a choice, they can be eligible for Chartered Management Institute, a diploma, as long as they have a sort of project that also links to the sort of purpose of the Chartered Management Institute. Some of these modules don't necessarily run every year, and there can be changes, so that is just a sample. If the module code has SPS, that's run by the School of Social and Political Science. So we have a very broad programme where you can, look across different schools and kind of mix and match a little bit how you put together your Masters in Health Service Management. So there's quite a bit of flexibility there depending on your actual interest. And then semester 3, which is our April to kind of August, if you like, session is very much focused on the independent project. I'll come on to that in a wee minute. So the research project or dissertation project or independent project is essentially all the same thing. That's 60 credits, and that allows you to progress from a postgraduate diploma to a master's. As I say, it runs predominantly from April to August. You submit your final project in around the middle of August. For that, you can choose your own topic. Okay, so you will be given a topic. You can think about an area of interest to you, perhaps thinking about future employability, thinking about your future career and where you have a particular interest. It's an independent piece of work, so you are allocated a supervisor. You don't need to find your own supervisor, and you will work with them, and you might have a meeting every couple of weeks. But essentially, you'll be largely working on it yourself, and then checking in with your supervisor that you're on the right track. And this might be something like developing a piece of research to influence a policy. It might be some sort of systematic review, looking at how to reduce work-based violence in an accident and emergency department. It might be something to do with use of artificial intelligence. I mean, there's a whole range of topics that you can choose from, that will fit within the sort of confines of health service management. So we have, although you have a range of modules that you can choose from, we do have some overall programme themes. So what we're hoping, or what we think at the end of the programme, is that students will have a thorough knowledge and understanding of evidence-based practice. So just like I'm saying, if health service management and leadership, it changes. We had the COVID pandemic, so suddenly we're in a completely different experience. So how do we manage to be kind of evidence-based practitioners and evidence-based managers in the future? We encourage a critical appreciation of relevant theoretical, methodological and technical literature. So there is a lot of reading in a master's programme. So although it feels like sometimes maybe the taught elements, the actual on-campus teaching is just a few hours a week, there is a lot of, student discussion, reading, understanding, thinking about, the current literature relating to your topic. And then we're looking at the application of explicit management responsibilities and practices to a relevant problem, for the completion of the dissertation. So, that's a substantial piece of work within the whole programme. In terms of future career, people come into the programme from different backgrounds, and I guess people are looking for different career prospects as well. So we have students that come in very much from a clinical background, so they might be doctors or physiotherapists or nurses or pharmacists, and they're looking to sort of develop their kind of management skills within that field. Or we have people who come in from a kind of business administration background, or work for a sort of the pharmaceutical industry, research organisations, and they're also looking at sort of the management options within that. So there is an element of depends what your undergraduate is and where you want to go with health service management, but there are career options in terms of sort of health service management and social care management at all levels. So we do look at health very broadly, so we're not thinking just about hospitals, we're thinking about the wider context and how that also influences health. So some students would be interested in working in large hospital organisations, some might be interested in the private healthcare sector or pharmaceutical industry or research. Students have gone on to work for charity organisations or some of our kind of policy think tanks, where they try to advise government on the best way to deal with a particular issue that arises. And in terms of the teaching, there is a range of ways that we do our teaching, and also the ways we do our assessments. Students who have studied in a non-UK setting are sometimes a little bit surprised that there's quite a lot of essays involved in the assessment, and that is something to consider. So we don't really focus on exams and sitting in a hall and writing an exam or doing a multiple choice. There's quite a lot about essays. to show your kind of critical thinking and understanding of topics. We also have presentations. Some of these will be assessed in some of the modules. So you might have 20% of your overall grade for a module might be a presentation, and 80% might be writing a critical report. We do encourage group work, and there are some modules where there will also be group presentations, so an opportunity to develop your kind of soft skills and transferable skills in terms of working in teams and sort of leading and presenting. Some of our modules will have smaller group tutorials, some options there are for some online discussion forums as well. We encourage reflective practice, and we also encourage peer review. There's a great strength in having a multinational student group, which means that there's a lot to learn from how people do things in different countries, for example, and sharing that experience. So very much, happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. If you're watching this later as a recording, please do use the emails either to Barry as the programme administrator or myself as the academic lead on the programme. And yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Sue. That was really good, really informative. I was just noting some things down, just sheer curiosity, some of them. But you mentioned that some of the optional programmes are held by different schools that don't sit within the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences. I'm assuming that means that if you pick that, you will then be mixing with students from those other schools as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and it's all about getting that, diverse experience. I mean, it is an exciting time, I think, to be a master's student. And, there's a lot of focus on the academic work. So that ability to share different experiences, it all helps in terms of improving health outcomes, to hear different perspectives and things like that. So I think that's a real strength, actually.
Yeah, and really good for students as well to just network and expand their network and meet people from all different backgrounds, I suppose, as well, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And in terms of those optional courses, do students need to start in September knowing what they're going to choose, or do they get a bit of time to sort of think about what might work best for them?
Yeah, so what we do is we have induction sessions at the start of the programme in September, and then I run a one-to-one session with all students on the programme. So it's a little bit about, so welcoming you to the programme, finding out a little bit about what you've done before you join the programme, and thinking about your career plans. And then from that, we can look at some of the optional modules and kind of help with the decision making. So usually we ask students to have had a good think about it within the first couple of weeks of joining the programme, and then putting in their requests for those optional modules in semester 2. But as we learn more on the programme through semester 1, there's often students will change, and if there's spaces on those what they want to change to, then that's no problem. So you can have a think about it before you start, but you don't have to come with any concrete ideas.
Perfect. And then something we're asked all the time is there anything students should do before they start in September? Is there any kind of background reading or just any preparations that you would recommend they make before they start?
No, do you know that I think the best thing is to just make sure you get here in plenty of time, so that when you have your induction week, you're already here. You've managed to kind of navigate a little bit, where you're going to live and how you get to the university. So there's not so much, I would say, to be done or read in advance, but I think it's just to turn up and be ready rather than sort of being a little bit at the last minute or missing the induction weeks. I think that's really important. Meeting your group, meeting the rest of the class, that kind of thing, and just understanding, it's a very big campus, understanding how do you get from one room to another, and just sort of having that sense of being a little bit organised to start is probably the most useful thing.
Yeah, that's a really good bit of advice actually, because I know that a lot of our master's programs, you're straight into it. You don't really get a lot of time to kind of build up to it. So if everything like that's sorted, you can then just focus solely on your
Yeah.
studies. Barry, is there anything that you'd like to add to that? I know that you'll speak to students all the time. Is there anything you would recommend?
Yeah, on enrolment on the program, they will be given access to our virtual learning platform, and at University of Glasgow we use Moodle, which I'm sure is replicated at other universities. And once we enroll you on that, we'll be giving you access to the program handbook, and that program handbook will have details of all the courses and the structure of a program. So as Sue says, there is plenty of time to make your mind up to investigate exactly which courses, modules that you wish to take in semester 2. And again, as Sue said, that if you subsequently change your mind, you can actually change your mind up to the second week of the second semester to change your courses and enroll on another course, but that is subject to there being capacity on the course. In addition, though I am the overriding program administrator for this program, for each of the courses, there will be an individual administrator who will be responsible for their own course. However, first and foremost, all students can approach me for any questions they may have. And if I don't know the question or answer, I will definitely pass you over to a person who does.
Yeah, no, the administration teams are brilliant. I ask questions all the time and they're always very helpful. I'm just like, that's just almost 11 o'clock, and we've covered off a lot of our questions there. I suppose one thing, Barry, you kind of touched upon induction there. Don't panic that you don't know when that is. That information will be emailed to you closer to the time. There's obviously a lot of preparation to go goes into all that to sort everybody to make sure everybody's got their date. So you've not missed that email. Don't panic. That will come to you nearer the time. But yeah, I think everything there on my list has been covered off. So Barry, I don't know if there's anything you feel we've not covered that you'd like to use the last few minutes to just add.
No, really just, any questions, get in touch. That's the main thing. Don't think it's a silly question, whatever, just ask and we'll do our best to answer.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Also, as well, the University of Glasgow website is extremely helpful in all the resources there. So again, with a bit of sort of scrolling or looking at our website will answer a lot of your questions as well. But I know as well, Naomi has put several links and they will appear on the website as well. So that will direct you to the relevant departments who look after that.
Yeah, the university has lots of services for our students. So definitely, if there's anything you think you might struggle with or you need a bit of extra support with, there's something to help you there. So, yeah, do let us know and we can point you in the right direction of that. Yeah, I think that's a nice place to wrap up. It's been really nice to hear about the programme, and that's a lot of information. So hopefully it's answered your questions. But like Sue and Barry have said, if you do think of anything, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And we'll do our best to follow up with you and get the answers that you're looking for. I suppose all that's left to say is thanks very much to our panel, and hopefully we'll see you all come September time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Naomi.